Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Around the Table GTA. I'm not sure if this is going to count as a bonus episode for season 2 or if this is going to be the intro for season 3. My voice might kind of sound a little bit different. It's mainly because I just woke up. Some people don't know that my voice is actually a lot deeper than people think. It's just that I worked in retail for a very long time, so I usually pitch my voice up a lot. Just a random fact, in high school, when I was in band, I played the baritone, so that's how you know my voice naturally has bass in it. But anyways, this episode was inspired by some events that happened yesterday, and the whole season, or at least parts of season 3, are a little bit inspired by Kendrick Lamar's album Damn. So it's going to be one topic and we're going to explore it. So today we are going to be talking about humility, and that's based off events of yesterday. As we grow, as we learn, as time changes, certain things have to humble us so that we could grow. So just for an example, if we go into elementary school or even preschool, bullying always tends to happen, right? And bullying is something that happens throughout life in general. But the first instance of bullying is usually either at home with a sibling or at school. And it's something that's a little bit complicated, where there has to be one way to deal with it. It's either you stand up to the bullies or you get picked on. There's a growth in that time frame, and someone has to deal with it, and it's always you. The teachers won't help you. Your friends could only help you so much, because if they're not there, you get beat up. Your parents can't do anything. The cops can't do anything. It's a learning experience. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we need to end bullying. But the thing about bullying is it does help people grow, and it does humble people as well. Some people who are bullied need to get bullied. And I don't mean it in like someone has to physically get hurt, but in our current culture now, there's less and less shame, right? And bullying is a form of shaming somebody, right? When you're a kid, maybe you pick your nose and you eat it, right? And then you get bullied for picking your nose and eating it. Even though studies have found that it helps boost your immune system, it's something that you shouldn't be doing, right? So you get teased. Sometimes you stop, sometimes you keep doing it, and then sometimes you get all this unnecessary attention and you feel like crap because you're doing something and no one thinks it's okay and everyone's making fun of you because of it. But what does it help you learn? You should probably not pick your nose and eat it, especially in front of other people, because it's gross or it's something that you shouldn't be doing. So bullying helps you be humble in the sense where it's like, wow, maybe there's something that I'm doing that I need to change. It's not always factual, right? But that's one learning experience of bullying, and it makes you a little bit more humble because, you know, you're humiliated, you want to change, you want to grow, whether it's bullying for something like that or your shape or the way you talk about things. It kind of puts how other people view you into your perspective, which is sometimes necessary and sometimes it doesn't really matter what other people think. But that's the first form of humility, and humility is something that we all need, especially in this age. Yesterday I had an experience with my sister where she was asking for help and I was helping her, and she started insulting me because I didn't do it the way that she wanted. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to help you anymore. And then she went to go and try to cuss me off and tell me this and call me stupid and everything. And then after, she started asking me for more help, and I'm like, unless you apologize, I'm not going to help you. And then she went off again and started cussing me off and everything. And I'm just like, number one, I'm not your man. I'm not your son. I'm not your husband. I'm not your dad. So if you don't want to apologize, I'm not going to help you. because she was going off about like, oh, I don't need you and this is why I don't ask you for help. Okay, if you didn't ask me for the tools that you needed, you would still be in your situation, right? So sometimes you have to be humble. Sometimes you have to say sorry, even if you think you shouldn't say sorry, because it's going to help you out in the long run. It doesn't hurt to say sorry. It's not hard to say sorry. Yeah, it might hit your pride. Yeah, you might not think the person deserves it, but that little instance can change your whole life. And that's a very small example. But if you don't understand how to stop barriers in your life by being humble, using humility to bridge that gap, you're always going to be put in the same situations that you're in. So I'm going to get a little bit political, not super political, but if we look at culture today, where people are becoming more cold, people are starting not to care because certain groups have cried about certain things. And now that they have these things, they want to go and tell people what to do and how to do it. And if they don't do it that way, then they're wrong, or they're insert this label here, insert this label there. You're a bad person, you don't care, you're a bigot, and other buzzwords to try to sway you into going onto their side. But like my previous example, they threw a bunch of insults at you. They kind of tried to throw you down while you were in the absence, or like you were in the process of helping them. So why are you going to help them? Why are you going to even take the time of day to listen to those type of people? They have no humility, they have no shame, and they want you to do something that you don't even really care for, or you need to do. Why? Because it doesn't affect you, it doesn't affect the people around you, and it's not going to change the world in a significant way. Humility goes a long way, especially if you are in the wrong. Even if you're in the wrong and people view you in a way where you're an unapologetic person or whatever, and then you tend to turn the other cheek or show them that you have maybe a softer side or a more compassionate side. Sometimes people will be like, oh wow, this person said sorry to me, or I can't believe that this happened. And it can rebuild a relationship. It could change people's view of you. Like I think I mentioned one story a long time ago in one of my older podcast episodes. At my workplace, there was this one boss who was super mean. He was very mean all the time, and he was just strict for no reason. Like there's levels of strictness, and this guy was on like 12, right? Secret boss difficulty, unnecessarily hard, bonus material, right? When this guy got sick, I think maybe 2 people felt bad, but everybody was just happy that he was sick and he was put into like a situation, because everyone felt that he was a horrible person. And after that bout of sickness, it completely changed how he is and who he was. And he became like a shell of himself. But even to this day, because of his harsh actions, some people still really hate him. Is he different now? Yeah, he's a lot nicer. You could approach him, you could talk with him, or whatever. This was before my time, so I never dealt with like the super hard ass version. But I still hear stories to this day, even though this was like 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? So how you act stays with people. Some people don't forget. Some people are hurt forever, if you want to even use that term. Some people don't have a goldfish brain type of memory. Like even with me and some people in my family, like my dad has a quirk where he'll forget everything that he does that is bad, but he'll bring up stuff that you do, right? And it's something that pushes my parents apart, because my mom's the type of person that remembers every single detail, right? To the point where you're just like, why aren't you like doing something with logging? Or, did they base the first computer on your memory because you need to forget some things? It's not that serious, right? So going back to the whole humility term, when's the last time you were embarrassed? When's the last time you had to be humble about a situation? When's the last time you looked at someone and their actions made you think, wow, I think this person has grown? For people to grow, they need to grow, of course, but they also have to deal with experiences, not only inner, but with other people, to push themselves to learn other things. But at the same time, while you're in these scenarios, sometimes you have to be challenged. Sometimes you need to rearrange how you look at things. And sometimes you actually have to think about how other people think or feel, because some things can work in certain scenarios, but in other scenarios, they are not acceptable, and you can't change that. It's like trying to change a whole culture. It's not going to happen. Certain groups of people act a certain way, especially if you go to their country, especially if you're in a place where it's a majority of that people. Just to change one person would be very hard, but to change a whole culture, that's a once in a lifetime chance, and the chances of that are very low. So the reason why I'm phrasing that is because we are talking about humility. I think the biggest change that we usually see culturally is through music, and unless you're a crazy artist that changes everything and pushes a lot of things while doing that, or you get a viral video and you have a lot of plans right as you go viral, you could keep pushing a message until your 15 seconds of fame dies down. But going back to humility, going back to the topic of this episode in itself, is that you have to remember that people only care about you so much. A lot of people do not care about you. They don't care about your opinion. They don't care about what you've gone through your life. They don't care if you're in pain. They don't care if you just relapse. They don't care about your mental health problems. A lot of people don't care. So you have to remember that you have to be humble. You have to have some type of humility, because not everybody cares about what you're going through or what you're doing. Even some people who are listening to this right now, your friends don't care as much as you think they do. Your parents don't care as much as you think they do. Even you might not even care as much as you think you do about a lot of the things that are happening in this world. And you have to remember that, there's going to be some people who care about you a lot more than you even care about yourself, right? But the chances of that aren't as high as you think. So with people being so entitled, people expecting the highest form of whatever, like when you see a quote unquote Karen in the store freaking out because things aren't going the way that they wanted, guess what, Karen? No one cares, right? And for you to get overly upset about certain things that happen in your life, you have to kind of stop and you have to reevaluate your actions and your importance. I think, yesterday I was watching a video and Lil Pump was in Japan, and he was just standing around and he was expecting people to go crazy because he's popular here in North America, or was popular at a point, but nobody recognized who he was, right? That's a humility moment. That's kind of humiliating, because you're expecting people to crowd you because you're a rapper who had a couple of hit songs and you did all this craziness, but no one knows who you are. Just because you're popular somewhere, right? People realize this in high school. but I guess, I don't know what's up with Lil Pump, but, or even like elementary school, or I would even say the first instance of this is sports, right? Like you could be the fastest person in your school, or the strongest person in your school, and then after, like, you go to a meet and you meet all of these people who think that they're the greatest at their school, and only one of you could be the greatest. And that's a point of humiliation sometimes, because you could be the fastest dude in your school, or girl in your school, or athlete in your school, and then you come in eighth. You humiliate your whole school because you thought you were fastest, right? Well, you still are the fastest, but compared to other people, it's not the case. Like, I'll give you an example. For me, I was in track in grade 7, and I wasn't the fastest person in my school, but I was pretty fast, right? Top 3. When we went to the track meet, oh my days. There were so many different people. Like, I was pretty short in elementary school, so there was people twice my size. There was one dude who was actually my friend's cousin, and this man, like, not man, but like we were 12, like, but this guy looked like a grown man. Like, he was built like a grown man. He had a mustache. He was tall, and a lot of kids are like, there's no way that this guy is 13. But because it was my cousin's, or my friend's cousin, I knew that he was actually 13 because it's my friend's cousin. It's his family. He grew up with him. Like, because when you're around that age, that's when people start getting their growth spurts and everything. But this guy looked like a grown ass man, and there was even times where he didn't come in first, looking like a grown ass man at a track meet, right? But that humbled a lot of people, right? Because sometimes, especially in competition, you get nervous, and your nerves kind of ruin your performance, right? But at the same time, there's just people who will train harder than you. There's people who are coached. There's sometimes people just eat better than you do, so they have more energy. There's a lot of different factors on why you aren't the best. And it comes to reality in earlier days of your life, hopefully. If you're not challenged the younger that you are, it's harder to deal with, especially when you're an older person, because having that realization can destroy you, right? That's why people kind of say, like, mothers shouldn't baby their kids too much, but at the same time, fathers shouldn't put that limit on their kids as well, because if you coddle your children too much, then they won't deal with life's harshness. But if you bash your kids too much, or like if you put your kids too much, or you put them in place, well, you're not the best, or you'll never be that good, or it's nice to dream but we have to hit reality, you could actually stop the growth of that person, because they could have had that potential to go there, but you're a little bit too harsh, right? That's how humility works in a sense. And we need to remember when to be humble, when to take in negative feedback, because it's negative feedback can be constructive criticism. And then after, we have to realize sometimes that, what, this is worth it. I'm going to push to go for it. Or, it's my time to back out of this and discover something new. Hopefully you guys like this episode. I still don't know if this is going to be a bonus episode or season 1 intro. It could be like the transformation episode going into another season. But we're going to still try to explore other things. So this episode is humility / being humble. Let me know what you guys think. We're getting more views, which is great. I think it's the algorithm finally picking up on certain things. I was going back and checking certain episodes, and actually some episode has highlights. So I'm going to go and kind of like research some of those episodes and see if I could use certain talking points so that they get highlighted, and then we get more views. But if you like this episode, hit the like button. It's free. Share it with someone, and hopefully you learn humility in a way where you're not humiliated too much, and hopefully you can use some of these steps to broaden your relationships with other people or change how people view you so that you and that other person can benefit. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Take care.